Okay, we ready to call the meeting? Okay.
You want her back in here first? We're good.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the March 19th meeting of the Transient Guest Tax Meeting. I guess first thing first, we should, since Liz is not here, I'm going to call roll myself. Brett Kell, are you here?
Here.
Marcus
Yes.
Miller
Here.
and Michelle Hofer, I am here. So you know, Brett is District 5, Marcus is District 6, and I am District 9. Our agenda should be here, and our meeting note should be here shortly. So the first thing we're going to start with is the, I guess first thing to do is elect a chair. So I will take nominations from the floor for chair.
I will nominate Michelle Hofer.
And is there a
Second.
second? We have a second from Brett. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I guess I'm chair. Okay. We're going to start with an overview of current financial status of the TGT funds. So Josh or Rochelle, would you like to take it away?
Thank you, Councilwoman. And we will provide you a TGT update through Q4 of 2023, which will be led by our budget manager, Josh McInerney.
So these are the four entities that received TGT funds back in 2016. Obviously, Evil Knievel has left town, so we still want to disclose what they've received thus far or potentially what they could have received. And so next slide. So Constitution Hall, contract timeline, obviously TGT for these entities were set up in 2016. It goes through the end of 2027 or whenever the funds are fully distributed. And each one of these slides is the same setup to where the last distribution of the quarter for 2023, $8,270 for Constitutional Hall, and then they received $34,000 in total. And then that total budget line item is how much they were originally set up to receive for the duration of the TGT tax. And then that $219,000 mark is how much they've received to date. And then I won't get into the Q4 updates. I'll let our members of the crowd get into those, but I just want to say before we go to the next slide, each one of our members is fully compliant. They submitted all of their quarter reports for 2023 and all of their money for 2023 that they should have been distributed, it has been distributed to them. So they're fully up to date. So,
Okay.
Evergy's Plaza, that same distribution as the other slide. The only thing to note is their percentage is much higher than other entities, and then they're fully compliant, like I said earlier. That's the list of events they held in the last quarter, and they'll speak on that. You can go to the next slide. Jayhawk Theater, same type of deal. We were a little behind just because of changing of management on both sides, and so we've gotten that pat away, and we got the correct contacts who we need to reach out to now. So we should have a really smooth transition this year of when this quarter ends, we should actually get people paid probably hopefully in April or early May. And then the last slide, Evil Knievel. So they left in Q1 of 2021, so that was the last payment that they were set to receive. Their total budget amount set up in 2016 was $300,000. Now, that undistributed amount means how much from Q1 of 2021 to Q4 of 2023 is potentially how much money more they could have gotten. So that's what's currently in our undistributed in our TGT fund balance. So that's that. If you looked at our Q4 financial report, that's the current fund balance in the TGT fund. And then the amount remaining is if they were still on the books and left as received money, that's how much potential money they were still set to receive by the end of 2027.
So you would take, can we go back one? To the Evil Knievel. So the 66,000 is the cash on hand that is undistributed. You would add that to the 114 to get to the total remaining potential impact for that particular entity.
But it will still be distributed on the same timeline, no matter where it goes.
Correct. It gets distributed in the same manner as the tax is distributed to us, which is quarterly.
Okay.
And I guess, I'm obviously not going to go through the whole document, but this document was kind of a summary of how the TGT tax works, who it's distributed to, and the type of different funds it's associated with. So obviously, the four entities are below, but then Sunflower Soccer gets a portion. The city of Topeka gets a portion for our operating budget, and then Go Topeka gets a large portion as well. So this is just a good summary slide of that.
This is the summary to help the committee members who are newer to the city and newer to this specific committee understand how we got where we are today. So this document is your historical context. And that we would happily stand with any questions or give way for our community members to proceed with their presentation.
Go ahead, Brett.
So on the Evel Knievel, they were the ones that denied it, or was it because of policy, we just didn't pay them what they, that 66,000?
I would have to go back, but there was a determination made between the city and the museum based on their decision to relocate that the payments were discontinued. I would have to go back and pull that paperwork from that time to give you a more specific answer about how that was achieved.
And
Okay, I was just trying to figure out because of, with the money sitting there, I don't want them to come back later and say, well, hey, we were due this amount for this and that, so,
No.
you know, I'd rather, you know, be cautious than have to come back and fix something.
I can tell you that last year, they were contacted, and because of the mutual agreement, they said, no, we will not take any more money. So they've agreed, they've gotten everything they're going to get, and
Okay.
the money is ours to distribute.
We have a record
Right,
of that.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, then let's move along to the presentations. And I guess we start with Evergy Plaza, if anyone is here. Kurt, are you going to speak for them? Okay. And I'll ask you to introduce yourself
Sure.
since Marcus and Brett may not know.
My
anyone
name
that
is
comes-
Kurt Young. I serve as a member of the Downtown Topeka Foundation Board of Directors, and I'll be giving the report today. Ken Scott, who is the chair, is out of town. I will try to update you and answer any questions you have. Josh Sturm was going to be here. I talked to him this morning, but he'd had plans that he'd already made and emailed me about an hour ago and said he would not be able to make it. But be real informal here. I just kind of want to recap. But I will say that if you have any additional questions about how we got to where we are today with this 1% allocation, this whole process started back in 2013. And so here we are today, 10 years later, and the process has worked very well. But if you need any more details, please contact me. And I think Vince and I are the only two people that go back to 2013 when this all started. So all the history is up here. Secondly, I want to thank you all, both as a committee and a council as a whole, for your support and confidence in the foundation's ability to design and create the plaza for the Topeka community. We do not take that trust for granted, okay? And so very early in that process of developing the Evergy Plaza, the Downtown Topeka Foundation was selected to be the developer/owner of the plaza. And so the funding goes to the foundation to accomplish that purpose. But early on in that stage, I believe about 2017, the DTF board made a conscious decision that these TGT funds that we're talking about today, received through this process, would be restricted from an accounting perspective and used only for debt service pay down and to make the quarterly payments on the debt service for the real estate that we purchased to build the plaza on. So that's one key point that I want you to leave with today. We paid $1.6 million for the 5 buildings that we demolished on the 600 block of Kansas Avenue. And as of yesterday, the mortgage balance on that $1.6 million loan is $593,637. I left the cents off, and it may, obviously, it'll changes rather daily. So that is scheduled, amortized to be paid off in the fourth quarter of 2027, the same year that this existing 1% sunsets. I can tell you today with confidence that there's no concern on the part of the foundation or anybody involved in the plaza that anything could interrupt the schedule to pay off that debt service. It's been a very good working situation where the money is set aside. Our payments are quarterly. The distributions that we receive from the city are quarterly. So the process just works very well. I'm going to just touch on a couple of significant highlights from the plaza operation perspective. The plaza hit all-time highs with attendance for the Invista Eats and Beats events. The first half, this is 2023, the first half of the season showed an average growth of 20 to 30% per evening from the 2022 averages. The plaza staff was successful in working through collaboration and bringing in 4 cultural festivals, the Irish Fest, Fiesta, India Mela, and the 4 Culture Kansas. And it is our expectation that this list will continue to grow as time passes. Keep in mind, one thing that's significant, and I don't know, I may be preaching to the choir here, but we opened the plaza the month after they declared COVID in 2019. I believe that's right, 2019, right? 2020, okay. Yeah, what a way to start with a plaza in the middle of a COVID pandemic. So staff has recently developed a plaza management plan that allows for more efficient operations. That's just something that's evolved here in the last 6 months or so. And talking to Josh, it's just really things have been working well. They have successfully managed the inclusion of small businesses into the plaza. And those businesses that are participating on the plaza have generated over $150,000 in gross revenues from sales that they made on the plaza. That's another key statistic that we look to see grow over time. So that's significant to us because we get a percentage of that gross revenue that they generate on the plaza. So there has been an increased collaboration with community events and venues to enhance the Evergy Plaza, as well as the arts and entertainment opportunities in our community. Event rentals have increased by 25%. These are just some of the highlights that Josh gave me. Christmas tree lighting and light installation has increased our winter programming. They've collaborated with the Miracle on Kansas Avenue Parade. And probably one big thing that I want to highlight and leave you with is ice skating in the 2022 2023 winter was well received throughout the community. And as a owner-operator, we learned a lot of lessons from our first year in the ice rink business. It wasn't as successful as we would have liked it to be. We learned, as I said, we learned a lot of lessons, and anxiously look forward to the opportunity to make it an annual event. We're in the midst of having some discussions at the board level to come up with a different way to do it. When we did it this first time, we leased everything. I mean, it was all leased from one company. And as you can well imagine, the price tag was substantial. But it was very well received. Evergy Plaza, in its short existence, has become the exciting front window of our community. It's not often one has the opportunity to be involved in a public effort such as this and be able to see the final product be as successful as it has been. But to say we have achieved the pinnacle of success would be a huge overstatement. We still have work to do. We have lessons to learn and plenty of opportunities to continue to succeed. I don't have any visual presentation for you today via the computer. Most everybody drives by the plaza many times during the course of the week, and you can see what's happening. So I will take any questions you have at this point. We have two members of our board here with us. I think Vince is here. Don Highland, who is our treasurer and the number cruncher that keeps us between the ditches. So I will take any questions that you have at this point in time regarding the plaza.
Brett, go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of point out how Irish Fest went this weekend. I was down there helping out the beer trailer, checking IDs for them, and between the beer trailer, the pop and squeeze, and the mini donuts, that place had made a lot of sales, and that the plaza most of the day was completely packed. It was a great event, and his staff did a great job patrolling the area, picking up trash, emptying the trash cans, checking to make sure everything was going good with the vendors and with the guests. So Evergy, I think, is definitely heading in the right direction with the slow start it did have because of COVID, but overall it's becoming a event space in Topeka and also just a meeting spot for people in Topeka.
Thank you.
Marcus, do you have any?
Do. And thank you for that. I appreciate the work that you guys do. You were right, drive by there literally every single day. And, you know, when we come by on the weekends and the evenings, there's different cultures that are represented at Evergy Plazas, which is what I really appreciate about it. Any different types of music, you come by on any given week, you're going to hear some different types of things. Yeah. And I hope that continues. Make sure that that's a priority. I have one question, though.
Okay.
You were talking about For the Culture and other groups that come annually to the plaza. What gives you the confidence that more groups will join as annual players at the plaza?
I think what gives me the confidence, we have to work to get them, number one. And I know we've got a staff now that is going to reach out and do what they can. We work closely, Sean at VTI and others. My goal has always been, I want to see the day when we have an event going on the plaza all day long, some kind of event all day long. The streets are barricaded off at 6th Street and 10th Street, and there's people have moved their wares out on the sidewalks, and it's just an open air kind of festival atmosphere. I'll I will think we have almost reached the pinnacle of success if I live long enough to see that happen here, and that's been a goal. And for some of us that got to go up to Rapid City some years ago, that's what we witnessed up there. I'm sorry. That's what we witnessed up there and we really have got a ways to go, but I think we've got the folks on board now, both from a community standpoint as well as a staffing standpoint, that can make this grow beyond what we would have expected.
Okay. Thank you. I'm good.
You're good. Brett, you good? Okay,
Yes, I'm good.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next on my list is Visit Topeka.
What's up, guys? I'm Sean Dixon. I'm the president of Visit Topeka. And I'm here to do a little bit of a 101, but I kind of want to start off by also kind of piggybacking on his answer to your question. You know, Visit Topeka has the privilege of working with all the organizations that are here speaking today, helping to ensure their success and doing our part to make sure that nothing falls or no one falls through the cracks. So we're working with Evergy Plaza staff on a very routine basis to make sure that these continue on. We're putting funding behind those as well to ensure that they have a safety net and can go out there and take some risks that would otherwise be difficult for those community groups to take on their own. And we're actively always looking at things through an equity lens to make sure who's out here, who's not seen out here, and is it because they don't see themselves here? Can we extend that welcome mat to them? So we've made that a priority of ours, and in working with our partners, it's their priority as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so for the good of the room, Visit Topeka is the official destination marketing organization for Topeka. We are primarily funded through the Transient Guest Tax, although we do have some private monies that we raise through ad sales and partnerships with our marketing campaigns. But we are here, and we work very collectively with our partners like the ones in this room and the Lodging Association to ensure that the leisure and hospitality sector of our economy is performing at peak capacity and walking side by side with all the other sectors in this community to make an impact on this as a great place to live, work, and play. Slide, please. Thank you. We're going to do some mission vision statement here, but I'll boil them down here in a sec. But we want to be recognized as a community nationally as a destination of choice for inclusive and authentic experiences, connecting our visitors and our residents to the history and the vibrancy and the spirit of Topeka. Slide. We do that by showcasing this vibrancy and promoting community pride and increasing the economic impact of travel and tourism through destination marketing and development. Easy way to say that, we are marketing, sales, and development for the leisure and hospitality sector in this community. This is our org chart. You can see we're structured around that. It looks very thin, but that big block at the bottom is very important. Obviously, I serve as the president of this organization, and Kate, our executive coordinator, keeps us going. Thank you, Kate. But underneath there, you'll see Sandy, who's our client services manager, who mans our visitor information center, which is something we opened last year, just up the street here on Kansas Avenue, in the Greater Topeka Partnership offices there in the U.S. Bank building. She also is in charge of helping groups that we've booked in, making sure that their stay in this community is a good one. A good example of that, we just had Kansas Kids Wrestling meet here over spring break. Went fantastic, by the way, incredible attendance. But folks like Sandy make sure that those visitors to our community are having the best time possible and have the resources they need. Cassie is our marketing director. We, as we'll talk about, marketing and advertising is a big part of what we do on behalf of the community. We get the word out about Topeka so people can learn about us and come here and spend their money and help us alleviate our tax burden on ourselves. Melissa Sowers is my vice president of convention sales and marketing. She goes after our large groups and conventions. She is actually at a sales conference now pursuing Christian meeting planners out in North Carolina. And then Mike Bell is the executive director of the Topeka Area Sports Commission, an organization we founded 2 years ago to help really double down on sports and that impact on our community, and officially serves as the VP of Sports Sales and Marketing for the organization. Now you see there's no finance in there, there's no admin, there's no HR. We're part of the Greater Topeka Partnership. So part of what we do with our funds is pay into that organization so that we can have access to those teams. So while this looks like a smaller team up here, we're actually very mighty behind the scenes, working with our friends at Go Topeka, at the Chamber, and with Downtown Topeka. Slide. That's not right. Okay, graphics are all kind of messed up on there. Okay, pretend like you, go back to that one. Pretend like you see two beautiful visitor's guide covers. And if you haven't seen those before, we've got them all over the city right now. So this
Looks
is
good. It looks
thank
good.
you. Yes, it's very sort of tragic right there. I think that's I think I had that album back in the 90s. So what we've done on an annual basis is we work to tell our story the best we can in the most engaging and exciting way we can. This year we launched a new ad campaign centering on the diversity of the community and this whole idea of see yourself, be yourself, and free yourself in Topeka, Kansas. You may have seen we had a little bit of a viral video going out last week with some of that new ad campaign. That is the launch of that campaign that occurred over spring break. What you would see on the right-hand side of this slide is an alternate cover to that is completely in Spanish. So for 4 years, my team has completely internally translated all of our marketing materials into Spanish. And this is our 3rd year actually doing a full print run of that publication for distribution outside of market and in market. So for things like the Fiesta, we have full Spanish materials for anyone coming in who may not, English may be a second language or something that they're struggling with. We want to, again, make sure that they are having a great time in our community, regardless of where they're coming from and who they are. So go ahead and slide. On the digital side, not only do we run the main Topeka campaign, but we have all kinds of side hustles, I'll say, campaigns, partnerships that we do in the community and in the region. So you can kind of see to the far right there, we ran the marketing and were the head dog on Topeka Dino Days 2 years ago. All the way to the left was a website we produced within 48 hours in response to the New York mayor's disparaging comments about Topeka about this time last year. And we turned that into a sweepstakes where a family from New York or 4 people from New York could win a free trip to Topeka to see it for themselves. We had 2,000 New Yorkers enter that contest. We had that visit back in the fall, and Vivian and that story is featured as an article in our visitor's guide this year. They had a great time. They've already come back, by the way, on their own dime, which is fantastic to see. And of course, there towards the left there, our Prairie Port Tour is our ale trail that we started last year in partnership with Manhattan, Lawrence, and Emporia. So we're all cross-promoting our breweries and wineries and distilleries through that program. We had a great first year, a little bit slow on the launch, but everybody's back on board, and we've actually expanded the number of locations on that this year as part of that. Slide, please. We win awards. I like to talk about that because who doesn't like to talk about winning awards? What you see up there is an Adrian Award. They're kind of the Oscars for hospitality. In the last 2 years, we've won 2 of those, one for Topeka Dino Days and the integrated marketing campaign, and the other for our PR campaign in support of Pride Kansas and their first Pride Festival back summer before last. We were also, there you go. I don't have a picture of this award, but last year we were recognized by the North American Travel Journalists Association as the best all-around tourism campaign for Topeka Dino Days in the country. Now, but we don't just measure ourselves in awards and pretty pictures. We actually do pay third-party research firms that specialize in travel and tourism and work closely with our accrediting agency, Destinations International, to measure our impact. These are fresh off the press. The Visit Topeka board got to see these in their meeting late last month. But to distill it all down, the totality of what we do in terms of a marketing campaign, third-party research firm stated that we generated 55,000 incremental additional trips to this market as a result of that campaign. Those parties spent an average of $454 in market, yielding a $25 million incremental impact on our investment into that ad campaign. Simplest way I can put it, for every dollar we put into there, $103 came back into Topeka from somewhere else. Very successful. Slide. Outside of that, we also sell. And I mentioned Melissa out there is selling now. It's kind of our B2B business. We go for large groups, conventions. We are a state capital that is essential to our economy. And while we do well now with state associations, we've been struggling with out-of-state groups because of the condition of our facilities, and we've been having that discussion last year with each other. Part of that too as well, we'll get to that point. Slide, please. Oh, go back one more. Good, but we are putting up some W's on the board. I'm proud to say that as part of Brown v. Board and that 70th, Topeka is hosting the country of Africa, not African American, the African Business Development Group. They were in London last year and selected Topeka, Kansas because of Brown v. Board and wanted to be a part and see that for themselves and experience that part of American history. So we will be hosting them alongside the Brown v. Board festivities that will be occurring in May.
That's great.
I mentioned we launched the Topeka Area Sports Commission 2 years ago. The new site went up late last year. We were very proud of that. But sports is a big deal for us, so much so that we needed a whole nother board of directors to answer to. Councilman Miller, you're on that board. But it is essential to get our arms around this growing beast very quickly. Everything from the collegiate level down to what we call youth. There's a lot of money in sports and a lot of traveling business in that, and we are doing our best to capture as much of that as we can. As I mentioned, the wrestling tournament we just hosted last week, that is our largest sporting event. There are, what, Kurt, 7,000 to 8,000 wrestlers in that tournament? Or is that their family count?
People.
There you go. I like to embellish on that one.
2,422 registered wrestlers.
Yes, all convening in Kansas or Topeka, Kansas with their families, and it's really kind of a cool thing to see. I will say on a personal note, from an equity standpoint, the expansion of girls in wrestling has been really exciting to see, and they've been probably the largest growth sector we've seen in that over the last 3 years, easily. We also invest, and we do our best to develop the product. So we can sell all day long, but we recognize coming out of the pandemic, if we weren't putting money back into the community, making sure that things were performing well, our advertising was going to suffer with a bad product. So like with Evergy Plaza, I believe Jayhawk, I think everybody in this room, Visit Topeka is either supported with direct financial support, our time and our advocacy, or marketing and PR support. This is the Fiesta from a couple years ago. This was our first real partnership with them to create this concert experience as part of that festival downtown. Went very well. There's actually, I think, a press conference tomorrow talking about royalty court for that event, but with Fiesta, with For the Culture, with Mela and everything else with Pride, Evergy Plaza in the community has been really, really embracing of this. And it's amazing to see crowds come out and support all populations of Topeka at these sites. Slide, please. I'm excited to say the air show is coming back. We're playing a big role of that at Visit Topeka and our money to make sure that Brooks and his team has a good financial safety net for this. This became a priority for us, especially with what's happened at Heartland Motorsports Park. That in totality is about a 6,000 room night loss for this market. So we're investing in things that we know can perform well. Big tentpole events like the air show, which is moving to October, by the way. So it won't be so hot as it was if you were there in 21 in July. It was very hot. The October timeframe will be much cooler, much better for us to attract out-of-market visitors. There's not a lot of competition for that. And it'll allow us to do some nighttime programming as well with some LEDs and some very cool things that are planned. I do believe we are also looking at some free community programming as part of the air show at Evergy Plaza for the community. It is a ticketed event, so we are very excited that Brooks and the organizers are looking at equity and making sure there's a free component to this. And we will have the Thunderbirds as a flight team as part of this air show. We didn't have a full flight team in 21, and they're going to be a big draw. We're very excited to have them. Slide, please. Kansas Children's Discovery Center. I put this up here as an example of some of the advocacy work that we've done. Not only have we supported grant funding applications by most of the organizations in here and others, but the Gage Park tax was also something my office lobbied for with voters. I did an op-ed on behalf of that to increase the net investment in tourism in this community, but also invest in a space, Gage Park, which is a really, really wonderful community asset for us and serves to bring in a lot of visitors. Discovery Center set a attendance record last year with about 120,000 visitors. Prior to that, the zoo had set an attendance record. I want to recognize the Combat Air Museum also set an annual attendance record last year. So these organizations are very important to us. It's very important that they thrive, and we're working very hard to support them where we can. Slide, please. So why do we do this? This is sort of the big New York Times headline numbers for you guys to write down and remember here. Tourism is big business for Topeka. Slide, please. Last year, we sold 534,000 hotel rooms. I have a personal goal, professional goal. When I arrived in Topeka, Kurt and I got together and said, we're going to get to 600,000 rooms. So if you ever wonder where my North Star is, it's right there. Now, why is that my North Star? Slide, please. This number. Prior to 2023, the record for room sales in this community was under $50 million. Last year, not only did we smash the $50 million mark, we crossed over into 51.1 for overall room revenue for the city of Topeka. Fantastic to see. Slide, please. That is part of a much larger number that has delayed statistics. Unfortunately, the most recent I have is 2021. These come from the Department of Commerce, showing the overall economic impact of the leisure and hospitality industry for Shawnee County. And that is sitting somewhere between $350 and $360 million annually. That is a lot of money. It is nothing to shrug at. And whenever I hear anyone in any community say, there's no tourism here, this is not part of our economy, it's not who we are, these numbers say otherwise. Slide, please. And ultimately, this number is the most important to me in that one. We do track through the Bureau of Labor Statistics the number of residents working in leisure and hospitality and jobs in this community. The monthly average for 2023, which we just pulled this week, ended at 8,900. That is a record for this, all-time record for this market. That is not only beating pre-pandemic, but that pre-pandemic record was 8.8. We are not 8.9. And not only that, but we set a single month record for people working in this sector in July at about 9.7 thousand people. So it's fantastic to see the growth. We've certainly got our challenges, but that's why we're here to help with those. I'll leave it to any questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Marcus?
I guess we can start with Brett.
Brett, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
You bet.
Okay,
I don't think
There
I
you
have any
go. Thank
questions.
you.
Good.
thank you. Okay, Joanne, you're up next with Jayhawk Theater. Oh, nope, you're not going to. Hi.
Good afternoon. My name's Jeff Carson. I live here in Topeka, and I've been the board president of the Jayhawk Theater for the last 5 or 6 years, and really appreciate the chance to give you guys an update today. You know, the transient guest tax has been a critical lift for all of these projects since it was instituted. It's really enhanced our ability to work with our architect and develop concept designs, and has helped show donors and patrons what the theater will look like when we get it restored. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Joanne Morrell to tell you guys about some of our exciting news we have coming ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Jeff said, we deeply appreciate your support and the opportunity to update you guys. It's been a big year, and the TGT funds have made a tremendous impact on the Jayhawk Theater. And if you want to go ahead and just, so we have some slides. It does not match my presentation, just kind of circling through so people can see what we've been doing. Often when we talk to people, they have no idea all the stuff that's going on at the Jayhawk Theater. So want to hit a few highlights of the impact of the TGT funds. And since most of you are new to the committee, in your packets, I went ahead and included our quarterly reports for the updates that talk about the impact of those funds and what we've been doing with them. So we had an incredible, what we call the robust entertainment run in 2023, and had a lot of sold out events. And the main thing people were upset about is that we were sold out before they even heard about the show, because we only have 300 seats. So we're excited to be moving forward to increasing that occupancy. And with your support, and Sean and Visit Topeka and Downtown Topeka, that is what helped make all of that possible. So 2023, we not only kept the restoration plans in motion, but we successfully pulled off bringing in 6 national artists for 6 months in a row. And we did that to help build our audience base and bring people into the market. There was a high percentage of people who had never been to the Jayhawk Theater and never been to Topeka. So these national artists we showed, and we would ask, and we see the zip code reports and ask by a show of hands who is the first time. It's 75% of the audience for one of the shows, 50% of the audience. And we had an event that we coordinated with Country Stampede and figured that would be a large part of our audience, as it was comedy stampede, 5 people in the audience only. And we drew people from all over the country to come see this one comedian. 5 people were here for Country Stampede as well. So we are tracking all of this and taking all of this very seriously. We know the economic impact, and we run the numbers, and Sean always says that our numbers are too low, and that it has more of an impact than we're stating. But with only 300 seats to sell, it was $494,600 supporting local artists, restaurants, hotels, staff, crew. And 93% of our annual budget was spent on local artists and vendors and direct support of the arts. So we're really proud of that, and what the Jayhawk, the potential to do even more with the restored theater. So 2023 was pivotal. We learned a lot. We grew our audience. We finished the year strong. We're also very focused on sustainability. We had more than $60,000 in net income. We secured $5.2 million in support, including the incredible game-changing Sprint grant from the state of Kansas. We hosted 12 big shows, which averaged 30% of statewide and out-of-state guests, which is consistent and in line with what other successful historic theaters do on a regular basis. So we anticipate those numbers holding as we reopen. We drew 140 unique zip codes to Topeka, and 66 events brought in more than 6,200 patrons downtown. Now, once restored, those numbers are exponential. Instead of monthly, we'll be bringing in weekly artists. So we look forward to that. We'll have 750 seats to 1,200 standing for our capacity. So as we track all of this, we know the importance of the economic impact to the community, and we've seen what happens to other communities that have a vibrant downtown historic theater, like Salina and Emporia and Kansas City, and soon Manhattan. Manhattan is undergoing a $30 million restoration of their Wareham Opera House downtown, and it's a much smaller venue. They only have about 500 seats. So they're eager to get in the game as well, and we want to stay ahead of that. So bottom line, we're working hard. We're studying best practices to bring that to Topeka. And, we've waited more than 30 years for restored Jayhawk Theater, and we're going to do it right, and it's going to be worth the wait. We had a consultant come in. The TGT funds helped support this for the planning. Randy McKay, who's a venue consultant, came in and identified things to help us with revenue generating and best practices, and we learned a lot from him. And it's a smaller niche market than you might think in the entertainment industry, and it's very important that when artists come in, they have a great time and they want to come back, and they tell their manager, and then the manager the agent has other artists that then they want to come perform at the Jayhawk. So it's really important, and we're looking at that, the artist experience, the patron experience, and to make it the best it can be. So construction timeline, our current plans are to have a contractor, CMAR, selected through a competitive RFQ process by May 6th, with the contractor on board and hitting the ground running by June 1st. And foundation restoration, which has already been designed, will be completed in the June to August timeframe, so this summer. And we will continue to work closely with Braxton and the city engineers on this, and so things are moving fast, and it's going to continue to. And if I could have one more minute, I would just want to mention another thing in your packet is the youth programming, because a lot of people don't know that we do this. And I know that that you care deeply about youth programming and that part of community building as well. And we do too. And for those of you who know me, you know that education and children, and that is very close to my heart as well. And so listed in your packets are the list of 2023 events that we held, and we had some incredible programs with JAG-K of Kansas and Boys and Girls Club, and we have big posters, but I just brought in the little ones today that they wrote. I had the best time, and it's wonderful, and it's the best thing ever, and they didn't want to leave. They loved the history. They loved being on stage and the opportunity to perform, we had guests who came in and talked to the kids and about life lessons. The mayor and Ronnie Padilla came and talked to them about serving the community and creative, expressing themselves authentically and creatively. And that's the good stuff of why we do this. So that's kind of why we're here, creating memories. It's the why. And building community, supporting our corporate base as they look to recruit and retain quality talent and a quality workforce, and growing our tax base and a win-win for everybody. So if you have any questions, I will turn that back to Jeff.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your support. It has been pivotal. It has gotten us to this point. We have maximized every dollar received. We will continue to do that. And, the city has a great team with staff and leadership, and we're grateful for your service.
I will, Brett, are you going with anything?
Brett, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I think it's extremely important for our town to have Jayhawk Theater revitalized. Kind of the same thought when it comes to the plaza. Are we making sure that we are trying to reach a number of different people and groups that would like to be able to come and enjoy the Jayhawk Theater?
Yes, and if you saw our slides, you can see that we've had a lot of diversity over the years, and that's very important to us. And in fact, the last time that we looked specifically at that for our statistics, it was along the lines of 30% of our artists were minority or affiliated with minority groups, which represented 40% of our total attendance. So it's reaching the entire community, serving the entire community, and that's critical. And that goes along with the youth programming as well.
Okay. I'm really glad to see a lot of the youth programming. That's extremely huge for them. There's a lot of expression in that age, obviously, and that's where you learn to get artistic. So having them be a big part of the growth is.
And the history day at the J was Dawn McWilliams with Boys and Girls Club. It was her idea, and it was one of the best. So we piloted all of these projects and launched them this year, and are very excited to continue them. And we're sad to be closed. We get calls every week. People are, they want to rent the Jayhawk, they want to perform there, and we're sorry to tell them that we're closed for restoration. We look forward to being open and being back on the. And I know Sean can't wait for us to be open as well. So again, we appreciate all of the support and look forward to getting it done.
Remind me again of the timeline.
We will break ground for the Alley Foundation restoration in June to August is the time frame. And then concurrently, we'll be working on the interior restoration and design plans.
Thank you. Rosie, I need to ask, are we strictly until 3 o'clock? Or can we run over a little bit? Okay. Next on the agenda is Constitution Hall. Is you ready to speak? Brett, we're going to run a little bit long. I hope that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Grant Glenn. I'm on the board, secretary of the board, and chairman of the building committee. Constitution Hall is the few sites in Topeka, maybe one of two, that's on the National Register for its national importance. And it was here that the Free Staters met and wrote the Topeka Constitution, which was the first of 4 constitutions that this state presented to Congress. This was the Free State Constitution. There was one constitution that was a pro-slavery constitution that was based in Lecompton. There 7,000 people had come from Missouri largely to vote in the first election and elected a bogus legislature that eventually became the Lecompton legislature. And it's in that framework that the legislature came to this new building in Topeka in 1856 for their first legislative session. And this was at a time that there was a slave legislature, a pro-slave legislature, and a free state legislature meeting at essentially the same time. And President Pierce did not like this embarrassment of having competing governments in Kansas, and he ordered the military to come to Topeka to disperse the legislature in this building. And that was done on July 4th, 1856, in front of the Eastern Press and the press from Chicago. And they did not like the fact that American citizens exercising their right to freely assemble and freely speak under the First Amendment of the Constitution had been disassembled by the armed guards, cannon even, 300 of them. And as a result, in Topeka, we have streets named for various presidents until you get to Mr. Pierce. And then we don't have a Pierce Street. We have a Clay Street. And that arises because of this important historical event. This was the town center, the town hall, for several years. Between 1861 and 1869, it was part of the state capitol until the east wing of the current state capitol was constructed in 1869. It has a varied history. There have been several churches, the Episcopalians and the Methodists among them started their first assemblies in this building. And what we have today on this first slide is a kind of a before picture. Funding from the city of Topeka helped us stabilize this building even before the current grant. And the current grant allowed us to build the facade, supplied half the funding of the new front of the building, which is replicated what it was initially. And then next to that building, you can clearly see the historic building there, but to the right is the Works Law Office building. And the large $3 million plus grant from the state of Kansas allowed us to buy the Works building and raise it and build a, next slide, please. So that you'll see the far building on the right, it's the Pearson Law Office, it remains, but the building in the middle there was where the Works Law Office was, and that will be our new hall for greetings. The money allowed us to build our stairwells, two different stairwells, an elevator, bathrooms on both floors, a opening welcome center, and a catering kitchen, all in this new building, so we did not have to remove space from the old facility. It also allows us to restore the building. And frankly, without that grant, I did not expect to live long enough to see this happen. So this is fully, and I've been involved in the project about 15 years. Know most of these people pretty well because we've been hanging around at these meetings through the years. And so we'll go on to the next slide, please. So this is the structure, and there's the elevator. The concrete blocks in there is the elevator shaft. Next picture. This is the rear of the building. So Constitution Hall is on the right there, so you can see that it extends further. There's nice open views in these visitor areas with the glass that'll be going into those openings that are there. Next slide, please. Okay, unfortunately, I thought I had the whole floor plan on this, and I failed. So the lower part is Constitution Hall. This is the main floor, and it was built for two storefronts on the main floor and a great hall connecting both storefronts above, and we'll show that in a minute. So the top of the slide is the north end, and the very top is the new building, and you can't see the particular rooms in that, and apologize for that. This will be exhibition space in Constitution Hall. We'll have permanent exhibits, and then we will have temporary exhibits or traveling exhibits in part of that. Okay, next slide, please. Now I've cut off the Constitution Hall, but the lower part that you can't see is a space that's equal to the part you can see. And it is open except for those four pillars, and that's the way it was built. and it was where the legislature met, and it was community space for banquets, and that's exactly what we intend to use it for, as unique community space, whether it's wedding receptions or legislative receptions and education for children, all sorts of multiple purposes that can be used for this. The elevator takes us to the lower level of the basement where we have storage space in that new building facility. On this level, you can see that to the left of the stairwell is the catering kitchen, and then to the left of that are the 2 bathrooms, and then there's kind of a furnace service area, and then a second stairwell for safety on the back. So that's generally what we're up to, and so we intend to use this as community space, hopefully derive some income to keep the doors open from that use. I'll tell you that this happened so quickly for the amount of money that internally we're not ready mentally. We're doing a lot of work right now with our board in planning for interpretation and how to operate a facility like this, because again, this was not conceivable before a couple of years ago when we received this grant. Next slide, please. This is the main floor, the street level floor, and so there are 2 parts. We tore down part of the demising wall between them so that you could walk between those 2 spaces. Next slide, please. This is the second floor, the Great Hall, so you can see the 4 pillars running down the middle. And it'll be, I think, largely open on the top, and you see all that steel, and that was, City of Topeka paid for a lot of that steel to make the building structurally sound, and it's quite okay with the National Historic Standards to show that steel and not be ashamed of it, because you can easily see the historic structure above it. And we've not destroyed that to the extent that we possibly can to keep the building safe. So at this point, the building is very sound and safe. Next slide, please. This is the front, and you can't really see it, but in the foreground there you'll see some steps, but to the right of it will be a ramp. And this ramp area and step area is actually inside the building, and that gets you to the main floor of this space that allows you to get to the elevator. Next slide. Okay, so just about the timetable, we're very optimistic that the contractor will be completed by the 1st of October. I was told today that the electrical panel for the building was supposed to be delivered on the 1st of April, and now they're expecting it in September. And they don't even know how we're going to work around that problem, but that still shows you what the kinds of delays that any project may have, and so we can only be cautiously optimistic, but I know the people in Topeka working on the project are doing their level best to meet this timetable because it's essential for our funding. We'll have limited showings in the fall and the winter of this year, and we'll have temporary portable exhibits in place this fall. The community room will be open for reservations this winter, and tours will be by appointment, possibly open on first Fridays. The regular open hours are to be determined, and we'll have permanent exhibits by 25 or 26, probably closer to 26. The needs that we are looking at right now, just to be completed, is we're about $100,000 for the fixture and equipment. The grant money cannot be used for that, so we need tables and chairs just to host our folks. We need to raise about $50,000 to complete construction. Overall, it's an over $4 million project. We need several $100,000 for interpretive exhibits. We're still not far enough along on the process to know exactly what that number is. And maybe most importantly at this time, and Sean is helping us with this, we're looking for an agency or a nonprofit partner, because we really don't have the budget to have full-time staff. And we need somebody that might be help share some of the costs and be there to open the building on a regular basis. And I think there's a potential for nonprofit entities or library or other entities that may be of help, but we're in the market to find that partner to help us be successful. That's what we have, and we're thankful to be here. We're thankful for all the support in the past, because if we had not stabilized the building with the early money, we would not be here, and the building would not be standing. Any questions?
Brett, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Marcus?
I think I do. You know, the news of electrical taken into the fall kind of worries me. Is everything else going to be put on hold, basically? I mean, you have to have the electrical in.
Well, you know, you can't run run or test the elevator without electricity. I mean, it just is a cascading effect, but that's just today's news.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know it till I walked into the building, so it's so
Right.
fresh. So that I'd give the architects and the contractor time to figure out a solution. I'm optimistic that they'll find another source or you know, other ways to specify it. But it's the kind of things that they have to deal with in today's economy.
Right. If you wouldn't mind, could you give us a report on that, say by the end of May, on what your thought is with that electrical work?
Sure.
Thank you.
Would you like me just to write a letter, or what?
We're going to have another meeting, because since we're running over today, we won't have time to get to what we're going to discuss on the unallocated money. So when we let you know when the next meeting is, if we can aim for that.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our final is Sunflower Soccer.
Put you at the top next time.
Right. So sorry about this. I'm congested. Obviously, just came back from a cold, and now allergies are messing with me. My name is Dustin Gill. I'm the board president of Sunflower Soccer. I took that role during COVID, so I came into it hot with a lot of things we had to fix. Our executive director, Dave Marshall, is not here. He's dealing with a family emergency, so I'll provide some updates. So for the new members of TGT, Sunflower Soccer came in, I don't know the exact date, back in 2016, 17, I believe. And some of that projects that happened over time was the parking lot, the building, the turf field, and additional grass fields out on the southeast side of the complex. Like the turf field was the most recent project back in 2020. So right during COVID, we had it open and then got shut down, and that was that for that season. Sunflower as a whole has grown a lot. We had created Topeka Soccer Club, DBA, back in 2017. It really kind of merged together when 2019-20, when we took over Topeka Select. Since then, we've had 2 national state champions in Topeka, first club outside of Kansas City to have that. So both our 2007 girls and 2008 girls have won that. We now have additional boys teams competing in that this year, so we're seeing a lot of growth on that end. Some of the major changes that is happening at Sunflower right now, which is very exciting, is Sunflower Sports is rebranding, or Sunflower Soccer is rebranding to Sunflower Sports Association. This allows us to kind of expand our mission a little bit, and kind of part of that first initiative is we have a partnership with NFL Flag to bring that to Topeka. So it's a whole new type of program that will help kind of attract some of those cities that don't have soccer. Like Holton is not a soccer community. So we may attract some of those kids at Topeka. The biggest thing with NFL Flag is it's currently the fastest growing NFL flag football league in the United States. So I'm super excited about that. Let's see. Additionally, kind of our short-term goals. Obviously, one thing that we've kind of always looked at in the last couple of years is how do we make more investments in Topeka and youth sports, because we spend a lot of money for tournaments to send people other places. So we kind of went back, we looked at all the old data, and before all these massive turf complexes in Kansas City happened, Topeka was the hub for youth soccer. You had state tournaments, regional tournaments in Topeka. You had boys weekends for Gov Cup, girls weekends for Gov Cup. Obviously that shifts as you're competing with private investors and turf complexes. But as of today, Topeka is the largest grass tournament in Kansas. Kansas City has one that's in fall that's pretty close. Spring, we're about 20 teams. The good news is we have partnered with Challenger Sports, who is the largest tournament provider in Kansas, to take over tournaments. So we're excited to see that partnership because they have a lot more contact to a lot of the competitive teams. We are going to have, I want to say there's currently like 25 teams from out of the state. We have a handful from Sporting Wichita that are attending. And we have a couple from, I know, Oklahoma, a handful from Illinois. So we're expanding, which is super exciting because competitive teams always kind of been that one bracket that you may or may not have. So it's super exciting there. So the other kind of big thing that we've kind of discussed over the last couple of years, which we sent out a survey to parents of Sunflower Soccer last year as far as what they would like to see at the complex. And obviously you can kind of, the most common answers are going to be turf fields, lights, some of those other things that really weren't popular, which, parking, which people don't think about till they actually need it. Obviously the big ticket items are what people want, which is, what can you do? So, we have kind of worked with an engineer just to kind of do like the first rough design of what we think the complex should be, with the idea of pursuing a capital campaign for these investments, because we think it's a huge asset to Topeka, because the youth sports market as a whole, nationwide, brings in a lot of money, and that is one area that Topeka as a whole has just struggled in. They're not capitalizing on that market. And I'm hoping that those investments will help that in the future and also set Sunflower and Topeka up in the future as well. So.
Okay. I'll start with you, Brett. Any questions?
Yes, so I know you said you're going to kind of rebrand into the Sunflower Sports Association, and you're looking at NFL flag. Has there been any talk about lacrosse? Because I've actually seen that as a very fast-growing sport, especially in the Midwest. Even our Walmarts in town here have lacrosse gear for sale.
It is on our radar, yes. The biggest thing is we're trying to locate and find someone in Topeka that has the experience in that, because obviously when we put someone in that position, we want someone that can actually train and teach kids how to play the sport properly, and that's kind of where we're kind of trying to find that right person. When we do start to introduce new sports like lacrosse, I've made contact with a lacrosse group in Kansas City as far as offering clinics and camps like that, is just to kind of the initial interest to see where it's at, and then build up from there.
All right, thank you.
Marcus?
Yeah, I too love that you are utilizing the space for multiple sports. I think that's a great vision to have. I'm glad the board is doing that. The NFL flag, very interested in that. What's the timeline for that?
So it'll run from September to August or to October. It'll be about 6 games plus playoffs. And the NFL flag kind of nationwide, you have a Super Bowl and you get Super Bowl rings. So that's kind of the excitement around it. We do have a meeting tomorrow with the Chiefs as a partnership to become a Chiefs affiliate, which has extra bonuses. So we'll kind of figure out, what the best pathway is into that. But we're super excited about it. We'll have one in the spring season as well. We are aiming to have an all-girls league and an all-boys league. The biggest thing with the all-girls league is right now, if you look at the MIAAs, Bakers, Ottawa, they have women's flag football as a college sport. So it's another pathway to potentially play college sports. While it's kind of unique and different, over the years, I think that sport is going to be popular in Division I, because you're now starting to see it, with NFL, with flag football going to the Olympics. That sport is just going to continue to grow. With soccer and FIFA coming to Kansas, the sport is going to continue to grow. And I think now is the time to kind of capitalize on that youth sports market as much as possible.
Thank you for that. I know we have Governor's Cup coming up. Getting excited about that. My son, who was here just a little bit ago, he's going to participate. He's a TSC member right now. I was curious about how we were going to try to tag along with FIFA coming in 26 and see if there was going to be a way for us to capitalize on some of that money that's flying into the country.
Yeah, so that's kind of been our internal topic. So there's kind of been the hot spots have been Kansas City, Lawrence, and Manhattan. For whatever reason, the Topeka market really hasn't been talked to. And I think if you look at more of the organizations that are involved, it's basically Kansas City groups. I would love for, Topeka to have a place in FIFA, whether it's utilized, indoor space at Washington University where a team goes for all their training activities. But yeah, it's one of those things that we're trying to figure out who the contact would be, to say, hey, why is Topeka not involved in this? Because as far as like a location, Topeka is a perfect location for teams to meet centrally, from Wichita to Hayes to Kansas City. And, I've had these conversations with the Kansas State Youth Soccer Board multiple times because, when we had the state cup in Topeka, it was very popular. They moved it to Wichita. Their biggest problem is most of those teams are coming from Kansas City. They're not going to drive 3 hours to go to Wichita to play another Kansas City team, even for those tournaments. So I know Wichita has won the President's Cup, the national tournament, for the next 5 years. So the idea is that, after all these complexes and things like that, Kansas Youth Soccer wants to bring back the State Cup and Junior State Cup on a rolling basis to Topeka because it's a location that people from Kansas City will drive. It's a location that Wichita teams will drive. So, there's a lot of positive things that we're trying to build on right now. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of manpower, but, as a board, we're very community-focused right now as far as what we can do for the next 40 years. We just celebrated our last year, our 40th year anniversary. So now we're kind of forward thinking, what's the next step? And that's the transition to Sunflower Sports and things like that allows us to kind of add more under the umbrella with other potential partnerships that we're working on as a kind of a youth sports organization, and kind of start utilizing resources together to build something even greater.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is to discuss the allocation of the unused funds. We're way past what we had planned on, and we've got another meeting tonight. So I want to give you and Brett a chance to catch up on all the information. We have a few options on reallocation, and we do not have to reallocate all of it right now. One of the recommendation last year was to split it up between the current groups that are already, the 4 groups, Evergy, and Constitution Hall. There are other options. So I'm going to task you with homework, which everybody just loves. But I want you to think strongly about where you would like to put money, additional money. That the groups that we have already been funding did take a hit during COVID. So we have a chance to get them back to where they were, or we can look for other options to put it in something new, or a new focus for somebody. It's totally our call what we would like to vote on and recommend. And City Council has to approve it after we approve it, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. This committee would make a recommendation that would then go to discussion and then vote at the full governing body.
Okay. Got a question?
We're talking about 117?
No.
That number? That was on the
Right
screen?
now, it's just 66,000.
Right now, 66, but the total allocations.
Right.
Yeah, but that's going until 2027, so by the time you were to talk about it next meeting, that would go up another probably around 75,000 or something like that, whatever the planned disbursement was for Q1 2024. So, but currently, right now, it's 66,000.
We have 66,000 on hand and then another 117 projected in the future. So you would have opportunity to allocate those two numbers added together.
Okay, that's
Or
what I
we
wanted to
have the
clarify,
upper,
which number we're working with.
we can do it right now with what we have on hand and wait. I mean, we've got all sorts of options on what we can do.
I move to discuss that at our next meeting.
Okay, so is Brett still with us? He may have had to go. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. What I would like to do is meet anywhere from a month to 2 months, somewhere in that time frame. And at the next meeting, So say a month from today to 2 months from today. Have some time to think about and ask questions on finance, or if you want to talk to any of the groups. And we can also ask, if you would like, and we can discuss that too, request for funding. Have the groups give us something that they're looking for funding on. Oh, our options are wide and varied.
Okay. I say a couple months.
So if you would like to look at a May meeting date, does that work for you, Brett?
Yeah.
Okay. We will look at mid to late May for a meeting, and at that point, we will discuss what we want to do with the money.
Okay.
And by that time, you will have had a chance to go through all of
Financial,
this.
good with that?
Okay. And are there any other items anyone has? Okay, if not, I need probably a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
And I will second that. So we are adjourned, and thank you for going long.
Thank you, everyone.
I appreciate everybody coming. Sean, I want to talk to you for a minute.